Hello chess lovers, I have an interesting game for you played by an Indian chess player Rameshbabu Praggnanandhaa and a Chinese player Li Bo. This game is notable in the sense that there was an illegal move and both players missed it. The game was played in 2017 at Zalakaros Chess Festival. Praggnanandhaa started with knight f3 and d5 by Li Bo, g3, knight f6, bishop g2, c6, white castles, bishop f5, d3, white goes for king's Indian attack, e6, knight h4, bishop g6, knight takes g6, h takes g6, knight d2, knight d7, e4, queen c7, queen e2, queen e5, rook e1, d takes e4, d takes e4, bishop c5, c3, controlling both this d4 and b4 squares, and at some point white can start an advancement on the queen side. Queen h5, queen takes h5 and rook takes h5. Pay attention please, black rook has already moved, and now black can't castle king side, because castling may only be done if the king or the rook involved has never moved. Praggnanandhaa played bishop f3, rook h8, e5, knight d5, king g2, bishop b6, knight c4, bishop c7, controlling the d6 square, a4, knight c5, bishop g5, and here comes that illegal move castling king side. I have to repeat, according to chess rules, castling may only be done if the king or the rook involved has never moved, but Li Bo on move 14 has already moved his rook by capturing on h5. After castling king side, live broadcast stopped as the softwares does not comprehend it as it is illegal. Now if I try to castle king side, then my chess software of course is not allowing me to do it because that's illegal. That's why I have to set that position manually. Let's just quickly set up that position and then proceed with the game. And from here we can go on. h4, f6, e takes f6, g takes f6, bishop h6, rook e8, bishop d1, king h7, bishop d2, rook d8, rook e2, king g7, bishop c2, king f7, b4, knight d7, a5, knight e5, knight b2. White is not going to exchange the knights, and later we can see that this knight can be very useful. Rook d7, rook e1, rook d8, c4, kicking this knight away from this central outpost. Knight e7, bishop c3, knight f5. We see a maneuvering chess by both sides. Both players are just locating their armies in more comfortable positions. f4, knight g4. Well, a better move was playing knight d3, going for an exchange sacrifice. If knight takes d3, then rook takes d3, and after the exchange on d3, now both the bishop and the pawn on g3 are hanging. If bishop a1, then rook takes g3 check, king f2, rook a3, which is a strong move. Black is not allowing white to capture on e6. Of course, now if rook takes e6, then rook takes a1 can be played. Let's go back, but after f4 we see knight g4, king h3, knight h6, and now Praggnanandhaa could gain advantage by playing knight a4, eyeing on c5 square. If b6, then bishop e4, eyeing on c6, and if rook d6, then c5. This is just crushing. Let's go back, but after knight h6, Praggnanandhaa played bishop e4. By the way, rook takes e6 can't be played because of this bishop e5 and white is losing his rook. Let's go back. After knight h6 we see bishop e4, f5, strengthening the knight on g4, but at the same time black is weakening the pawn on e6. Bishop f3, but now comes e5, getting rid of that weakness. F takes e5, going for a tiny pawn sacrifice, and now comes rook d3. Black rooks are penetrating white's camp. Bishop d5 check. Well, if knight takes d3, then after rook takes d3, black is winning back one of these bishops, and this is going to be very unpleasant for white. That's why after rook d3 we see bishop d5 check, rook takes d5, c takes d5, and black is capturing on c3, d6. Now the bishop on c7 is hanging, but the Chinese player is not going to move it. Here comes f4. Now you can't capture on c7 because of this rook takes g3 checkmate. This checkmate just looks spectacular. That's why after f4, Praggnanandhaa played rook g1 protecting the pawn, bishop b8, e6 check. Well, this advancement of pawns looks very tempting, but actually knight d1 followed by knight f2, exchanging one of these knights would have been better. But instead, after bishop b8, we see e6 check, and now later in the game we will see that these knights are starting to cause white a lot of problems. King e8, knight a4, rook a3, d7 check, king e7. This pose looks very dangerous, but everything is under control. Knight c5, bishop c7, rook d2, f takes g3. Well, this gives white an easy chance to equalize the game. A better move was knight e5. If knight takes b7, then knight f5, activating both knights. And if d8 queen, then bishop takes d8. After rook takes d8, black can capture on g3, and of course black has a compensation. White king is in danger. Also, this pawn on f4 can cause a lot of problems. Let's go back. After f takes g3, we see rook e1, which allows black to gain advantage. A better move was promoting the pawn to a queen and deflecting this bishop, which is protecting the g3 square. If bishop takes d8, then rook d7 check, and if king e8, then rook takes g3 with equal chances. But after f takes g3, Praggnanandhaa played rook e1, and now comes knight f2 check, and it turns out that white is in trouble. Knight f5, knight takes b7, knight takes h4 check, king f1, knight d3, rook e4, here comes g2 check, and white is just forced to give up his rook. Rook takes g2, knight takes g2, king takes g2, g5, king f1. White has no definite idea how to proceed with the game. These pawns on e6 and d7 can't do anything. Knight f4, king f2, rook d3. Of course, capturing on e6 can't be played because if knight takes e6, then white has knight c5. That's why black is first playing rook d3, bringing the rook to d5 square, and only then is capturing on e6. Knight c5, but here comes rook takes c5. b takes c5, bishop takes a5, and now black is grabbing all white pawns. Rook takes a7, knight takes c5, king f3, knight takes d7, and after king g4, black played king e6, getting rid of this pin and protecting the pawn on g5, and Praggnanandhaa resigned. Actually, this rook can't do anything against these two pawns and two pieces, and black is winning. Your comments and questions, please. I hope that you enjoyed this game. Good luck.